This morning, U.S. intelligence agencies are sifting through highly sensitive information that was gathered in the daring U.S. raid on the ISIS leader's compound in northwestern Syria. President Trump says the terror group's leader, that's Abu Bakr al Baghdadi, killed himself during that weekend attack. Now, this is a big victory for President Trump, who is accused of giving a lifeline to ISIS when he pulled American troops out of northern Syria. The U.S. located Baghdadi using information provided by prisoners, including one of his in-laws, who met with the ISIS leader on a regular basis. Chief Washington correspondent Major Garrett is at the White House with more on this story. Major, so what else do we know this morning about that raid?
Well, good morning, Gail. We know that the Army's elite Delta Force took the lead. About 70 American commandos participated in this raid. It took about 4.5 hours. No U.S. military personnel were killed, 2 were injured, and there were injuries suffered by a military dog. Meanwhile, 5 of Baghdadi's terrorist associates were killed in the raid on the compound.
He didn't die a hero. He died a coward. Crying, whimpering, screaming. And
President Trump described the final moments of ISIS leader Abu Bakr al Baghdadi as a contrast in terrorist bravado and American resolve. Amateur video allegedly shows the raid.
The thug who tried so hard to intimidate others spent his last moments in utter fear, in total panic and dread, terrified of the American forces bearing down on him.
Mr. Trump said fresh intelligence on Baghdadi's likely location and where he might move set the mission in motion 3 days ago. U.S. forces took off from a military base in Erbil, Iraq, flying 8 helicopters, low and fast, for the roughly 1 hour and 10-minute trip to the location. Once there, forces blasted a hole through the side of the compound, catching those inside by surprise. Baghdadi fled to an underground tunnel.
He ignited his vest, killing himself and the 3 children. His body was mutilated by the blast.
A test of Baghdadi's scattered remains, Mr. Trump said, confirmed the identity. The president credited cooperation from Russia, Turkey, Iraq, and Syria.
Russia treated us great. They opened up. We had to fly over certain Russia areas.
The Syrian Kurds, who have seen the U.S. withdraw from the country as a betrayal, also played a role.
They gave us some information that turned out to be helpful.
While some Republican lawmakers were notified Sunday morning about the raid, other congressional leaders, including Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, found out when the rest of the world did.
It's great that we've gotten al-Baghdadi and killed him. He's a dangerous man, an evil man. The fight against ISIS has to continue.
The raid was codenamed after Kayla Mueller, an American aid worker and one of Baghdadi's victims. On Sunday, Tony, President Trump called the families of Americans killed at the hands of ISIS.
Major Garrett for us. Major, thank you.
We are learning more information about the raid that took down ISIS leader Abu Bakr al Baghdadi. His death resonating around the world. The countries involved in the US-led operation are boasting about their contributions and sharing intelligence, but the international cooperation it took to take out one of the world's most wanted men would likely be impossible to repeat. CNN has learned the U.S. decision to withdraw from Syria had a major impact on the planning of the operation. An official tells CNN that the raid would have been possible without U.S. troops in Syria and the partnership with the Kurdish-led SDF. Well, for the very latest, let's get you to Sam Kiley, who is at the Turkish Syrian border investigating the compound location very close to there. Ben Wiedemann with me here in Beirut. But I want to start this hour with CNN's Barbara Starr, who is at the Pentagon, with more information on the intelligence, Barbara, that led to Baghdadi's capture.
Well, Becky, it appears that the intelligence began to come together late last week, and it was at that point commanders went to President Trump, and he made the decision to go after the world's most wanted terrorist. Abu Bakr al Baghdadi, the leader of ISIS, spent years hiding and on the run before U.S. Special Operations Forces got him. Special Forces used the cover of darkness overnight as 8 helicopters carrying as many as 100 U.S. troops landed at a compound in northern Syria. They entered after blowing holes on the side of the building, believing the front door might be booby-trapped. President Trump golfed in the early afternoon of Saturday, getting updates all day before returning to the White House Situation Room at 5 p.m., where the president said he watched the raid as it happened.
Well, I don't want to say how, but we had absolutely perfect, as though you were watching a movie. It was that and the technology there alone is really great.
The president said the special ops teams were met by local gunfire on the ground that was quickly squashed. At least 2 ISIS fighters were captured and 11 children taken out of the house. 2 of Baghdadi's wives were killed.